Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast about what's going on in the South Florida marketplace. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, my co-host, the moderator, the gentleman who does single-family houses and condos over in Coconut Grove, no one else but Daniel Hernandez, a real estate advisor. Daniel, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Peter. What's happening? You went to the Biltmore for the Latin Builders and you came back for the show. You're Ubering all over the place. I know you're not driving.
Nope, haven't had a car since 2013. Let me tell you, that Uber ride is about 25 bucks. What happened to the $14, the $12 Uber rides?
It's going to go down. Well, first of all, ICE kicked them all out. We're number one ICE city in the country, guys. And then the Waymo's here. You see the little white cars driving around? Anybody can get them now.
I haven't tried it yet. I got to check it out. It's got to be cheaper than Uber.
No, it's more expensive than Uber, which is totally backwards because there's no driver. But we're not talking about that here today. Everybody, welcome to Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. If you're just joining us for the first time today, in the bottom left of your screen, if you're watching on the YouTubes, and if you're watching on your little itty-bitty phone, rundown's right in the middle. And what is that? Some topics that Peter and I throw back and forth week after week. Yesterday, we had to do them on a Thursday beforehand because I had to be respectful and send them to our host, our guest host. We have a guest today, Pete.
Gentleman I'm excited.
By the name of Benji Power, which sounds like a Marvel superhero, and maybe to some he is a Marvel superhero. And he builds affordable housing or workforce housing or attainable housing. I don't know, I get him mixed up, but he's going to tell us all about it. I'm going to bring him on the show right now. Where is he, Mr. Power? Where's my mouse? Here we go. That was supposed to be smoother. What's going on, Benji?
What's up? Happy Friday.
Benji, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, this is fantastic. If you're watching on vertical, Peter and I's faces are a little smaller than usual because we're giving Benji's in the spotlight. Because Peter and I, we talk a lot. And now Benji's he's the expert, right? We just work here. So Benji, you do affordable housing, and for our listeners who don't live this stuff every day, you're director of real estate development and social impact for Proceda Development out of New York. What is social impact? What does that mean for a development company? That's a role I don't typically see on a business card.
Sure. And clarifying, first of all, I'm a native of Miami, so working for New York-based Proceda Development Group, but essentially raised here since I was 10 months old. Social impact, many developers around the country and, of course, around the world, but definitely here in this United States, the dialogue is evolving. What else are we doing other than producing profit? We're not producing it in a vacuum. We're producing it in a real world with real people in real neighborhoods. And so social impact is firms out there who are challenging themselves, challenging their fellow development friends to tell the story of what else is your building doing, the products that you're building, the assets. What else are they doing other than generating you a bottom line return? And in the case of affordable housing, not to in any way diminish the value, but in addition to being a good home for somebody, what else are we as a development team doing in the neighborhoods we work in? And so I bring that lens, that hat to the longstanding 60-year-old Proceda Development Group. They were a social impact focused team anyways, joined them and asked them if they would let me further elevate that storytelling within their firm. But first and foremost, I'm a development team member inside of them, pioneering the Florida office for the firm.
But your background, you worked in public housing down here in South Florida before you joined them, right?
I did, yes. Yeah. Urban planner by background, education. Get to this if it comes up in different parts of our dialogue today. Realize what the real estate developer does in shaping cities, building cities. So I've been on the path since grad school to work in the real estate development space. Had a few different roles within that, including construction roles, and one that I was really excited by that I did during the beautiful years of COVID. I joined Miami-Dade County's Public Housing Authority, and that department used to be known as PHCD, now known as HCD, Housing and Community Development. And so I was in-house there managing one of the topics we'll be talking about, the RAD program.
Right. And with that, I want to jump straight into it. And you're just joining us. I gave you a little bit of a precursor of what the buy, sell, hold is all about. But at the end of each one of these topics, Benji, we're going to actually ask you to buy, you agree, you sell, you think it's BS, or you hold because, hey, you're an adult and you don't know and you just want to sit back and eat some popcorn. So to kick that off, Benji, the RAD program it's rad, it's groovy, it's cool. What does RAD stand for, Benji?
Sure.
RAD.
RAD, the three letters RAD are rental assistance demonstration. It's a horrible name, and that is
Yes.
very normal out of HUD. It's a program out of our federal government, HUD's Department, Housing and Urban Development. And it's a horrible name. Development, it was a pilot program, started in 2012 under Obama's administration, and it's been kept alive by all following presidential administrations, Congresses. It is the leading program in place right now for redeveloping public housing out there.
Okay, so redeveloping public, why does public housing have to get redeveloped? I thought you just build it,
Sure.
maintain it, and that's it, right? The government maintains public housing.
Yep, yeah. So microwave catch up for anybody listening that's a little bit perplexed by some of these terms. Affordable housing, we can talk about it a little bit later on today, but what is affordable housing? Don't worry about what it is in terms of exact programs. It is exactly obviously what it sounds like. It is housing that is affordable to a family. For the most part around the country, we've accepted, and I think around the world, there's research, unified research saying about 30% of your income on an annual basis should be going towards paying your housing costs, be it a mortgage or rent. It gets even a little bit more interesting when you include transportation costs, because maybe we can live and work in Miami and not live, work in Miami and have an affordable house somewhere in the western parts of Palm Beach or down in Homestead. Well, now that cost of commute just broke the affordability that you achieved. So for when you're including transportation costs, we're talking of numbers of 40 to 45% of your income should go towards housing and transportation. Public housing, put a capital P on that. It's a specific program out of our federal government. For all of our division in our society, in our country here, we are actually, for better or for worse, but I think for better, a decently social fabric supporting nation. We've been working on this for many decades. I mean, our U.S. Postal Service, of course, is some version of a symbol of that. Our public
Right.
school system is a version of that. Public housing was the residential housing aspect of that. And so it was housing built by our federal government through many versions of the federal government at local levels, public housing authorities. And they are around the country, starting in the 1930s and 40s, started building usually multifamily housing, but row homes, townhomes. One of their main purposes was to house returning members of our military as they were returning from overseas and needing housing immediately before they could figure out the GI Bill, accessing a mortgage, moving out maybe to the suburbs. So public housing has been and is still government owned and managed housing. It's been through a few different waves in the history of our big cities in this country, a few different waves of when did it get built. And really famous product types were built in the late 50s, 60s. And that is some of the quintessential product you think of when you're watching a movie. You think of a high rise, and you do think that high rise is dangerous. It's in a low income neighborhood. We did do a lot of mistakes in how we designed public housing. We kind of experimented, sadly, with the lowest income population and saying, well, what happens when you put everyone in this type of building? And it'll be
Right.
great. This was a modernist idea from the 60s. So we've been fixing a lot of those mistakes throughout the past 30, 40 years. Hope 6 was a really well-known program in the 90s that started redeveloping public housing. And there's been a few other programs since then. RAD is now what's been in place since 2012, and it's being heavily used down here in Miami-Dade, where there's about 10,000 public housing units in the early 2000s. So that's giving you a sense of that's the most Miami-Dade ever was going to have. We put a cap around the country on building new public housing units, and they were in these older, more dilapidated buildings. So these different programs, Hope 6 and now RAD, have been enabling public-private partnerships that help not only rebuild the actual physical structure, but also create a more healthy mix in the financing backing of these projects.
Yeah, I was looking at press release what I could find on the internet about some of the projects at Procida that your firm's involved in, and the capital stack. It's not, hey, bridge loan, pre-construction, construction loan, finished. There's like, and from what I could see, there were 5 or 6 layers, and I'm sure it's even more complex than that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will not go head to head with a market rate developer, and we are the Procida team is market rate also, but yeah, not here to say it's more complex, but it's certainly complex in a different way. It is multiple sources. we are essentially an affordable housing developer is working with many different subsidies, call them financing sources, subsidies from city governments, county governments, state governments, and the federal government, and then add in a smattering of nonprofits, foundations. So yeah, you're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sources as a very normal number of sources
Wow.
for getting out of the ground on a new construction project.
And Peter, I think we've talked about a rad project here. PBS made a documentary about it a few years ago. Contentious, Related Urban had their hand in it, and I'm talking about Liberty Square. Very so everybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, Liberty Square is, well, it's a square in Liberty City, which is west of 95. Last week, Peter and I talked about the difference between the east side economy and the west side economy. The east being the high rises and the finance and professional services, and the west being everything that supported the east. And there, Liberty Square sits there in the west. And if I understand correctly, that is like one of the OG public housing developments here. And that was very publicly, I'm not going to say dragged through the dirt, but very publicly in the spotlight when Related Urban decided to redevelop that.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm very familiar with that project. Yep.
So, and this is just me looking at it from the outside as an independent researcher. But there was this PBS documentary. It's called Raising Liberty Square, R-A-Z, not in the positive, but in the bad way. They pushed back a lot on this because the idea of the right to return in terms of rad developments, and the right to return, folks. It's effectively when a developer comes in, and Benji, cut me off if I'm talking out of my ass here. So they give the residents an option, right? You can stay on site through construction, which who wants to live in a construction site? You can relocate temporarily on site if they're doing it in phases. If the developer is doing this in phases, you can accept a Section 8 housing voucher and just say, hey, I don't want to live here. I'll just go somewhere else. Meanwhile, or you can get a permanent relocation voucher. And in the case of Liberty Square, it took them 6 years to build this thing. And I don't know about you, but my life takes turns and twists and changes over the course of 6 years. I might not, be able to wait for this to finish. And that, from what I could research about Liberty Square, this was an example of maybe something that was dragged out, unplanned, or just things happened, and the outcome was a lot of families were improperly displaced. And I know that's not in the spirit of what the RAD programs are all about, but it's just an observation into sort of the things that could happen through a RAD redevelopment.
Yeah, I'll hit on. I'll keep it brief. I know we got other topics, but
Yeah.
so anybody listening, anybody watching, if you got an opinion about what I'm about to mention, that's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. For the sake of listening, what I'll explain, I'd say park that opinion, and that opinion being, is public housing a good thing or not? So park that if you want to park it, because I know there are people out there who aren't happy that it exists the way it exists, aka it being a housing of last resort for those who are at the lowest level of the income class when you're ranking all of our nation's economic classes. And to qualify for public housing, median income is an important statistic. Won't get into the weeds, but if you line up everybody's income in an area, Miami-Dade County, for example, and you go for median, that statistic instead of average, because when you go for average, uber wealthy individuals skew an average, not blaming them for being uber wealthy, but in the game of math statistics, they give you a false understanding of what salary numbers, what income numbers live in this county. Median
Luxury
gives you
condos, Benji. Luxury condos. You take a look at the condo market. The big Mark Zuckerberg stuff. He didn't buy. He bought a house, but he's skewing the numbers. So I'm with you 100%, Benji. Keep talking the truth. Keep talking it.
But so median income is what numbers are lying in the middle. So we have the numbers called 100% AMI, area median income.
Right.
That's your quote unquote normal income family. The families that are allowed to qualify for public housing have to be at 30% AMI. So it's essentially close to poverty. You are 30% or lower. So it is poverty and a little bit above. So public housing is for that population class, that income level class, and it is, in my opinion, a tool. Can it be improved? Yes. The RAD program, now the leading program for redeveloping these older buildings. We're doing a few great things in Miami-Dade County. I'm no longer at the Housing Authority, obviously, so I'm not speaking for them, but much of our public housing was built in the 70s in Miami, at a time when we were building low density. Cities like Chicago, they had a significant amount of the high-rise developments. They had no choice. They were
Cabrini
always a dense
Green.
city.
You had Cabrini Green. You had Robert Taylor
Yep.
homes. I grew up in Chicago on the south side. They built a
Right.
series of 15 to 25 story towers. Must have been like, I don't know, 12, 18 of them. Everybody was concentrated in one place. If anybody's a baseball fan, Chicago White Sox, they play right by where that was. And ultimately, you had this great divide, this great segregation in the city. And some would argue because they concentrated everybody in one area, they all tended to be African Americans.
Wait,
Yep.
so you said to be eligible for this program, you have to be 30% or under AMI?
Yes. And there's a
So-
little bit of wiggle room. Anybody technical out there, you can go up to 40% roughly, but yes.
So guys, I just did the quick back of the napkin calculator on that. So AMI, correct me if I'm wrong, Benji, here in Dade County is $87,200, 100%?
That's 100% for a family of four, perhaps, or one individual.
No, I think it's for a family of four, and
That
the
makes sense.
30% of that divided by 2,080, assuming a 40-hour work week, that's $1,250 an hour, guys. That is
Right.
that is pretty bad. So you have to be below that, but somewhere between 30, 40, or less percent to qualify for this public housing.
Yeah, and many families are purely living on Social Security, disability checks. Many elderly actually qualify for public housing, and
So
they're
we've-
purely living on their Social Security check.
Peter and I, and we got to move on to the next topic, but Peter and I have talked in length about the ALICE program here. You and I, when we first met, we were talking about ALICE, and it's that really dangerous place right over that 40%, that wiggle room, where you don't qualify for any of these bennies, and you're kind of just left hanging out to dry. And that's where so many people in this county are at.
Up to 80%, 80% AMI, you qualify for different affordable housing programs. I'd argue the real hang dry moment is when you're above 80, and that is a very significant population in this county. That's college grads. That's first, second year out of college. You're earning 40, 45K a year. You're definitely above 80% AMI, definitely not able to afford rent in many of the centrally located neighborhoods in Miami. So,
Right, you don't have a partner.
Right. If you're partnering up, then you got a little bit more income. But so RAD is trying to densify some of the sites because of that low density product we had. We're trying to bring that higher density product through RAD projects, and also try and create mixed income opportunities. Related group, staying away from any classification, good or bad on them. They're doing quite a few projects where they're bringing in some of the 100% AMI, higher percentage AMI units into a building that has the redeveloped public housing unit in it. So they're actually doing some mixed income buildings.
Got it. But that has nothing to do with Live Local, right?
It has nothing to do with Live Local. That was coming kind of as mixed income is always discussed in the affordable housing industry. It, of course, if you're thinking as earning your permanent financing, when you're going mixed income, you're bringing in those higher paying tenants. That is helping you obtain a higher financing mortgage for the project. So it has that good for it. Helps you execute on the project. There's a lot of dialogue we're not going to have today of, does it work out? Do mixed income families live well together? And it's being experimented with around the nation, and not just here in Miami. Raising Liberty, fascinating documentary. The Right to Return. There were programs from HUD in the past where residents literally got lost. You demolish the building and then say, I don't know where everybody went. What do you mean you don't know where everybody went? That's your job. Fuck, nobody told me to do that part of the job. Sorry for the words. So through the RAD program,
we're not commissioned we're not regulated by the FCC here on Buy Sell Hold.
Let it rip.
Program, they made that a real strict requirement. You cannot lose a resident. Most of the developers are doing good by it. I did watch the documentary. You're correct. There is some chatter about, did everybody come back? Yes or no? We could talk about that at length, but I
opened a Pandora's box with the RAD program. We could have a whole episode about RAD, but we do have to move on to the next topic. And Peter, you're being awfully quiet. I can't tell if you're thinking, if you're being pensive, if Benji's just blowing your mind right now. But Buy Sell Hold, the RAD program is rad, Pete.
Well, first of all, for disclosure, and I don't know if I need to disclose this or not, but I'm a board member on a real estate division of 10 North Group, which used to be related to Opelika redevelopment. It's called the 10 North Group now, so I sit on the real estate board. So I don't know if I have a conflict or not. I don't think I do, but I'm just sort of putting it out there because I don't want anybody coming
Mr.
back and
Full Disclosure over here.
bitching and moaning about me. Benji, before I make a decision, help me understand the real numbers. We're talking about AMI, right?
Yep. We
All
are
right,
talking
so
about AMI.
and what does it stand for? I always.
Area median income. Median.
All right, so the area is that like the city of Miami? Is that like Miami-Dade County? Is that the okay? So okay, it's all the county. So if I want to figure out what that number is, because people always throw it around, I'm looking at Census Bureau data now. It's talking about median household income. It's talking about per capita income. How do I kind of find out that number? Because I always hear percentages. I'm somebody who needs to visualize what does it really cost. That's why Daniel's $12.50 an hour really kind of resonates with me. But
Sure.
just so I know it going forward.
Miami-Dade County publishes it on the Housing Community Development Department website. HUD will publish it. A quick Google search usually is good. And quick correction for you, it was 86,000 is 100% median income for a family of one. For a family of four, it's 123,000.
Okay,
so it's
got
been
it.
going up.
Got it. Okay. I'm a slow learner, so I guarantee by the fifth story I will know what's going on in terms of all of the particulars, all the details. It's fascinating. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it. So at this point on story one, I'm gonna have to be a hold because I feel like a neophyte. I am way outside of my lane, and I'm a spectator and I'm enjoying this. But I'm gonna ask some dumb questions. I promise you that.
Awesome.
Benji has me convinced PBS documentary be damned, and I love a good PBS doc, but he pointed out a really good thing. It's kind of like the charter school argument when we had Josh Dallenberg, the educator, on here. Do you like kids who are 7 being able to read, or do you not like kids 7 years old being able to read? And it's sort of the same argument. Do you want people to be homeless or not? And the sausage is made sometimes kind of dirty, and it's not perfect. He sold me on it. I'm a buy. Moving along. I know Peter's going to have something to say about this. Lobbying the state is easier than lobbying municipalities. What's this all about? Well, so Florida passed the Live Local Act 2023, and it's been expanded every year ever since. So if a developer adds affordable units, the state overrides, supersedes local zoning, high density parking, the whole shebang. And so city halls across the state have lost their veto effectively. So developers can now, the playbook is you lobby Tallahassee. We saw this with the Fontainebleau water slide project at Miami Beach. Developers can now lobby Tallahassee instead of sitting through 40 Coral Gables commission meetings. And you, Mr. Power, is this the future? Is this now people kind of realize, wait, why am I donating to 100 different commissioners if I could just donate to 5 state senators?
I don't know if it's the future. I mean, it could have a finite. You're correct. This is a perfect example of how state government can really impact our local lives. And so, right, you want to improve or just change something locally, go to your city Miami commission, go to your Miami-Dade County commissioner. That's the way to do it, right? And now we're seeing an example of, what if state government can be, I'm going to say these words are my words, big brother. Come in and say, no, you guys don't know what you're doing. We're going to fix everybody's problems. Well, that only works so long as the elected reps that we're electing are voting in that direction. So we could totally kill this moment of allowing the state to have that big brother element if in 5 or 10 years we start replacing elected reps that go up to Tallahassee to be those who don't allow for that big brother status. And so at that point, I think we would see a turn of events where state of Florida elected reps, House and senators are not friendly to these state of Florida big brother moves on local government. So I think that could easily change. And that is what allowed this to come through is the current state House and state Senate has been playing friendly with this, saying, yeah, this is a good idea. We'll take whatever backdraft we get when we go back down and we get yelled at by our local friends in the city and county governments. But that only lasts as long as they keep winning their seat in the House, their seat in the Senate. So
listen, I got the next proposal. I got the next proposal if you want to lobby the legislature. Why don't you lobby them to move the damn capital from Tallahassee, which nobody cares about, the top third of the state? How many people you got living there? What, the equivalent of Broward County? Why don't you move the capital down to Orlando, a place where people actually go? Why don't you
The
bring it to
Bright
Palm
Line
Beach?
gets there.
Yeah, take it to
Orlando
someplace
gets
with the
there.
bright line. What the hell's it doing in Tallahassee? It's too damn cold. You got Florida State, which isn't very good at football. There's no reason it ought to be in Tallahassee. It ought to be in Central Florida or down in Miami. So, Mr. Legislatures out there, come down here. People much easier bend the knee and contribute to your campaigns if they could actually drive there instead of having to get on one of these rip-off little private planes and fly into Tallahassee and then have to deal with snow. Sorry, I had to get off my I had to get on soapbox.
I fully agree. I mean, I've got a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old, and when I explain to them state capitals, some state capitals make sense. State of Florida's is a decent head scratcher.
Right.
And
You got to explain, hey, son, this is why wait, that's not a big city. I don't understand.
And it's far away from where the biggest urban area in the state is.
And the football team sucks. The FSU's terrible.
So there's a disproportionate amount of live local projects happening here in Miami. And kind of to Peter's point, this is where everything's happening. Pull the numbers: 143 projects statewide, 43,400 units in the pipeline, 3,200 delivered. So like we're still in the nascency of this whole live local. But 43% of all live local projects in Florida are in, you got it right, Peter, Miami-Dade County.
It became a funding tool, obviously. So we are the highest cost area in the state. And so developers are developers. We need to build or we don't exist. And so this became an enormous-ish funding tool. Obviously not direct injection of funding, although some component of it did create a new layer of affordable housing subsidy at the state levels. HFA, which is known as Florida Housing Finance Corporation. You're, of course, able to fund your project better if you're able to bring more units. More units is more rental income, is more mortgage. And then there's been some constant additional state of Florida legislation getting added to it. Property tax abatements are a big element that I know it's not one of our topics today. Property tax, yes or no?
No, you can bring it up. Bring it up.
Please.
No, of course. But prior to property tax, yes or no debate, Live Local is allowing for some projects to be property tax either free or 75% property tax free on the value only of the residential unit, which obviously is a significant amount of the value of the project.
Did DeSantis sign that into law that it starts when you get the permit?
No. It's after your units are online.
It's after your units are online, but they sent that to the governor, right? That amendment.
Wait, is it? You maybe know of a new amendment that I don't know about.
I think there was Peter and I. We talked about it when we were talking about Yes in God's Backyard a few weeks ago with the Mercy Hospital site.
That's right, and it was going to allow somebody simply by filing an application to be able to start claiming the credits for it.
No, once you get the permit, once you get the permit. Once you get the permit, the tax abatements would kick in, and that would totally blow the lid off of financing. Because, like, I mean, how long does it take you to eventually get that? That could take you 3 years, 4 years, and then Peter was saying how it would incentivize developers to slow step their projects because, well, they're not paying all that carry.
Sure. Yeah. And there's actually been a real getting in the weeds. I know some of us listening on here aren't in the weeds, but we as developers have, on that exact topic of property tax abatement, we love it. It reduces your operating costs, so it increases your permanent financing, aka projects can get out of the ground that maybe couldn't before. But we're struggling actually interacting with Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and other lenders to show proof of how this is going to work. Everything's kind of still in an experimental stage with Live Local. A lot of projects are just going to start coming online with units being leased in 2026. And legislation said this would be the first year a lot of the benefits would kick in. So a lot of banks and lenders are saying, I need better proof. I need an attorney. And attorneys won't sign these letters yet saying, how does this really work? And so
because nobody knows.
Nobody knows. It just hasn't been proven yet. We know how it's going to work, but we don't have paper proof yet. So we've been having some interesting underwriting experiences. But my thoughts on the state of Florida doing it, I don't mind Big Brother. And when I say that, some version of Big Brother I don't mind. What version do I not mind? The version that takes care of all people, from the rich to the poor. And so when our state government's looking out for the needy who need more affordable housing by enabling more affordable housing to be built, they're successfully saying, hey, NIMBY Town, not in my backyard, NIMBY. That's not it's not healthy for the state of Florida. We need people to be able to live everywhere. So that's the good side to it. The bad side is, of course, local government sometimes does know what's best for its neighborhoods, and you've just taken away that power from them, unjustly so, debatably unjustly so. So I think it's healthy to allow the democratic process over the next few years to say, if you like this individual citizen, then vote for the individuals again, and if not, we can change that tune, I think.
So I'm gonna go to you first, Benji. Buy, sell, hold. Lobbying the state is easier than lobbying municipalities.
I would say, actually, I'm going to go risky here and say sell, because the thought I hadn't mentioned is if you've got your right city commissioner, mayor, they should know how to themselves lobby.
That is a gross assumption, sir.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but vote them in.
Or do we say the constituents get the politicians that they deserve?
Well, if you elect a good city commissioner and a city mayor and a county commissioner and a county mayor, they do trips up to Tallahassee. They can also do the reverse lobbying of no, don't do this live local thing. You don't know how it's going to bite you in the tuchus. The pushback is going to be bad. So this is supposed to be a dialogue. We're supposed to be shaping laws together, humans, representatives. So that's why I say sell, meaning don't just abandon ship on the local government. I think if you double down on your local government, they can counteract any negatives happening that are maybe happening at the Tallahassee level.
I like the holistic view on it, but is it easier at you as a developer, if you put your Mr. Power developer hat on, is it easier for your job on the day-to-day for you just to go to the state?
If you ask that tough question, then I go into maybe a hold. And I go into a hold because you're going up to Tallahassee where they're like, I don't care about South Florida. What are you telling me? I care about 80% of the rest of the state. You down there in South Florida, you're Latino. I may or may not be Latino.
Just go do your thing.
So you push me on that one, and I go to hold. I don't think it's a home run.
Okay, Peter?
I think politically this country and this state swings. I remember a day when there was a guy called Lawton Childs, called himself the old he-coon. This is prior to Jeb Bush being governor. And this was a blue state, so I think you get a pendulum swinging one way or another. And I'd say the current approach of governing from Tallahassee, where you strip away the local power, you then empower somebody up in Tallahassee, which is almost a different time zone away. I think that pendulum's going to swing, just like it's probably going to swing out of the White House. It's probably going to be swinging out of Tallahassee. So this is probably just a moment in time. We'll probably look back at this and sort of say, what were we thinking? Why do we want to empower these people who are elected to serve, 60 days, 90 days a year, while we could have local officials or local politicians? Don't get me wrong. Not all the local politicians are that smart or that moral. But that being said, I can get access to them. I don't have to jump on a small little puddle hopper and go up to Tallahassee. So I would say I'm a buy on the idea right now, but I'm a sell on the long term, whether or not this thing has staying power. I don't think it lasts. I think the pendulum white takes it out.
So you're splitting the difference, you holding?
No. I'm gonna be a buy on this is the way to do it right now.
This is the way to do it right now. Okay, I get that. Gun to my head right now, I think it is, but I like the asterisk. Buy with an asterisk. All right, well, speaking of Tallahassee trying to take control, the urban development boundary, lame, should be abolished. It really pained me to say that out loud. Guys, we've been talking about the urban development boundary here for a while, and I'm not going to go totally back into it, but urban development boundary, little line that goes over the western boundary through Dade County, separates us from the farmland and the Everglades. Why is that important? Well, back in 1975 when they drew this, you had Everglade, farmlands, wetlands, and it's been tutored as this environmental sort of protection thing. And when I talk to people who are kind of anti-UDB, which I am still friends with some of these people, some of them, but I've had to change my argument, and that's what I want to talk about today. Not just the environmental benefits of the UDB, but the economic ones too. And to support that argument, I found that we are number one in something else, Peter. Benji, we like to really find what Miami's best in. Number one. Well, we are number one in something called ornamental plant production. You know what that is?
Ooh, tulips.
It's nurseries like palms, hibiscus, ficus. We are number one in the country for and basically anything that goes to the Home Depot in Kansas. Better chance than not, it's coming from the UDB, outside the UDB, and we do that more than anybody. And if we pave that over, there's nowhere else in the country for these plants to grow. I don't know if you looked at a map of the temperature back in February, but we were like this little phallic thing with the red, and the rest of the country was frozen under tundra. So this industry creates something like $1.5 billion in annual sales, and that comes from here. I mean, it's nothing like the cruise ship industry that's like $60 billion, but that's a lot of companies and these big ships with capex. But this is effectively farming, and we have that here, and I think that's really important. And then I'll let Benji talk about all the potential for infill development rather than moving the UDB. But Benji, I want to hear from you. What do you think of this UDB? Is it better for infill, or did I totally read you wrong and you're like, let's just abolish this, take the eraser and build west like Broward?
Right. And you've covered it a few times on your past shows. I mentioned 2 or 3 reminders here. We're not the only place, obviously, in the country that has this. Quite a few urban cities. Portland, Oregon. Not saying we want to be like them. Maybe I do.
They moved it, right? And it didn't end well for them.
Well, they had a well-known one. That's why I bring it up. We're not the only place that's done it. And a second part that's important about Miami's is to know it was put in place somewhere in the late 70s. And there was a specific line. And then you look at a map, you see, like, imagine 2 or 3 blocks over is the line where it's supposed to move by something like 2040. And then one more series, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks over in the agriculture area, it moves again in 2050, 2060.
Oh, I didn't realize they have like planned expansions.
Planned expansions, yep. And then what's happening nowadays, here we are debating it, but what's happening nowadays and whatever's been in the news over the past 20, 30 years has been applications to request that it be jogged just for specific developments on a case-by-case basis. And I actually had a job 20 years ago where I worked for an urban planning firm. We would put together these applications for the clients asking to move them. And it's all kinds of project types. The well-known one that made the biggest noise 3 years ago was industrial-ish warehouse land down in South Dade. Projects that I worked on in my time, no negatives meant if I say somebody's name, Lennar Homes with a suburban community, wanting to bump it out for something like 3,000 homes, single-family tract housing. And some commercial complexes up in the Hialeah area, essentially retail strip centers combined with some warehouse. And every time you put together one of these applications, the argument has to be, if you don't let me do this development will not happen in Miami because infill's too expensive, too complex, et cetera, et cetera. You need the housing, you need the jobs, you need the retail commerce to feed your humans. And then the Miami-Dade County Commission gets to decide, do they buy it or sell the argument? So I think, and I'm sure you've covered this in the past, it's also there to help protect the Everglades. Not that agricultural land is the best for the Everglades either, but it's mega times better than urban development will be for the Everglades. And so we get closer and closer every time we move it.
Got it. And then Benji, talk a little bit about, so why infill, right? So why not just infill? And this kind of touches on lobbying the state versus lobbying municipality. Is it, because we've been reading that folks are even going to Tallahassee to sort of back them against the county to move the UDB, where they also went to, or I don't know if they went to the state, but Live Local came down from Tallahassee to help infill development. So it's sure. Like Tallahassee's coming down on 2 fronts to aid developers either on and or moving the UDB and Live Local. I guess both are true, but what is more effective coming from you as a developer and as sort of I would call you a leader for social impact?
Sure. Yeah. Infill is the thought of, it's the most common sense thought. This is SimCity. And instead of building in the green area, aka agriculture, I know it's not actually the Everglades, but agriculture and related green areas out there, infill is when you're building in the existing city. And so the developer, not Benji, but the developer doesn't like it. Your cost of land is higher. The land you're buying as your site for your development, it's got existing structures on top. You've got to figure out pollution underneath from those structures. You've got to deal with surrounding neighbors complaining. So it adds multiple dollar signs of costs to your pro forma, to your project, and it may kill the project. That's their argument usually. It's UDB movement or bust. Project's not happening. I would argue it doesn't necessarily kill the project. It certainly makes it not appetizable anymore to you because it increased your costs, so it reduced your profit. So I get it, but I say tough. We gotta survive down here as long as we can, and I think we need to look at that UDB line as strongly as possible. I'm not opposed to it being moved when the argument is compelling, but here I am arguing against myself. Well, when is the argument compelling?
Right.
You should always be able to figure out infill. I get it. It's way more complicated. You got to amass the parcels and get the footprint
Right.
that you can just easily get in moving the UDB into a 20-acre expansion. You got a 20-acre site. You can barely ever get that in infill urban Miami-Dade. So but I say infill. I mean, when you fly a drone over Miami, we are still a single story dominant urban area.
Surface parking.
Yeah, we should be double story, triple story everywhere, not just at the high rise nodes, not just in Edgewater, Aventura, Sunny Isles, not just downtown Dadeland. These should be everywhere. We need more density everywhere, and it's messy and it may be a little bit less profitable, but it's going to be better for the long term. I mean, when we move the UDB, we now further handicap our ability to have a good mass transit system because we're just spreading out the population. And so lots of bad comes out of moving it in that sense.
Well, the county doesn't have a fantastic record in improving its public transit, and I'm going to point to Peter on this one. Peter, so what happens to Peter Zalewski? Benji, Peter doesn't drive, by the way. He's not.
No, I drive. Oh, I drive. I gave up my car in 2013 because it was very similar to like it is today. People couldn't afford stuff, so used car prices went up. I was due for $1,000 of work, and I said, "Screw it, let me go ahead and trade it in the CarMax." They gave me the cash. I never looked back. We started off with car to go. These are these little Daimlers that you would drive around. You
Oh, they were the smart cars.
little smart cars. Yeah, yeah. At 20 cents a minute, I think it was, or something. You drive those things, you beat them to hell, and they were great. And then they got taken out by Mr. Uber, who's now going to get taken out by, I guess, Waymo. So no, it's not that I don't drive. It's just I look at the value. And Benji, when we talk about value, you got any kind of rule of thumb? What does it cost to actually make a pad, a lot for a single family house or a multifamily in this reclaimed Everglades, which is on the west side of the UDB, versus going into an infill type of site? And by the way, if you do need to remediate it, isn't there stuff like brownfield credits and stuff that the feds provide to clean up places like laundromats, like gas stations? I mean, it's got to be easier for the feds to take the cash, or the local government take the money you would put towards infrastructure and simply apply it towards some sort of remediation, just like a brownfield type of grant or anything like that. But I'm all infill. Extending the UDB. This is crazy. This is cockamamie. This is a developer who wants an easy, lazy way to do it. You guys say you're developers. Get off your tuchuses, if I could use Benji's word, and get out there and grind. The days of just clear cutting stuff and slapping it up and doing a McMansion and calling it a day, those days are gone. You want that? You need to go to North Florida. Check out Tallahassee. Plenty of dirt up there you can build on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we got to do what is done in Chicago, what is done in New York. It is infill development, and it just means the development community. And I know it's happening. It's not happening. Coconut Grove redeveloping, that is infill development. All of Miami Beach, we are infill developing. But yeah, I think the county commissioners need to hold a line and say, the few of you who are saying that it's just too tough to figure out this project in the urban infill area, I'm going to push back and say bullshit. It's a little bit less profitable, but for the greater good of all these different variables of what our city, our county needs, I'm going to need you, developer, to do your part. If you want to be in this industry, do your part and figure it out.
Pedro, should it be demolished? Not demolished, abolished, which I guess is demolished.
The UDB? No. I think they ought to do like the Russians did on the Ukrainian border. just drill that thing in there so nobody's going west of it. No, I want the UDB sticking around. I'm happy with the UDB. I like the roseate spoonbill. I like the Florida panther. I like the alligator. Am I a tree hugger? Not necessarily, but I'm also a realist. I realize developers need to go ahead and make some money, but do you really need to drive up property values if we're going to get rid of property taxes? Property taxes are what make the economy happen down here. If we get rid of property
Makes
taxes,
it go
why do we need to
round.
build more housing?
You're right.
Yep.
He's right. Benji, this was kind of a layup. I knew it. I had an expectation.
Of course. If abolishing it is the item we're buying or selling, I am selling abolishing it.
Sell, sell.
Yeah.
All right. Attainable condos are the answer to affordable housing. Benji, you touched on it a little bit when we were doing the vocabulary lesson, when we introduced you. Workforce, affordable, attainable, people we talk to, commissioners, politicians, developers alike, they like to throw these terms around. What's the difference between affordable, workforce, attainable? Is it just a buzzword? Is it part of that AMI tier of income? Can you give us some clarity on that?
And I say this with much love and respect. Any of my friends and not friends who are elected reps, most of them don't know these words. They just get quickly coached on which one to use, and they just train the brain, say that word over and over again. They don't actually know. I don't blame them. I'm a nerd. Urban planning education, real estate development education. This is my focus area. Usually, just to oversimplify it, affordable up to 80% AMI. Workforce gets debated a little bit. Is it essentially that 80% AMI up to 120, 140% AMI? It's your workforce. It's not so much your strong, middle, wealthy class. It's that in the middle class. Attainable, in my opinion, it's really even more vague. It is the umbrella for both of those. Attainable is just
something that you can attain. Right.
Yeah.
So
attainable condos. Yeah.
Daniel, if I could, Benji just sort of set the scene for everybody. We're talking about condos here. Correct me if I'm wrong. We had the run up in 2002. We put up a ton of condos, and at the time, workforce housing was a big deal. There's a guy out of City of Miami Commission, a guy called Mark Sarnoff. He was pushing for it, and they came up with some sort of solution, which led to the related group putting up what should have been 3, but they only did 2. Loft 1, Loft 2, no parking near mass transit. That was going to be the solution, and what did they do? They pre-sold it, and they didn't have any kind of requirement as to who can buy it, and there were some state reps, I think, who were going in there speculating, flipping these damn things. So that was actually step 1, my recollection, and now we've gotten to the point where we actually have Live Local Act, where potentially it's going to carve it out. What was Loft 1 and Loft 2 in downtown Miami, because you were close to, and I should mention, close to where President Donald Trump might put up his Trump presidential library, because he can put up 1,000 units with no parking, and he got the dirt for free. So, maybe President Trump is going to put up a bunch of units, and I don't know, maybe some supporters can go, but being tongue in cheek. But Benji, did Loft 1 and Loft 2, was that the initial attempt locally to try to deal with workforce housing when it came to condos? And I'm using workforce as a neophyte because, keeping the terms affordable, workforce, sustainable, it's confusing as hell to me.
Yeah, I mean, by reducing no parking in there, a developer of the condo building can sell units at a much lower cost. In case anybody doesn't stop and think about that, when you have to build garage parking, structured parking, you are paying a significant amount of money for
40,000 a spot?
30 to 40K, correct, yep. And totally different from surface parking. So again, back to the UDB, I get it, why individuals would rather build a little bit of apartment and a lot of surface parking, way lower cost to build. So I think Loft 1 and Loft 2 were good examples of the beginning of us paying attention to the need for workforce. But the simplest variable they did was just removing the cost of building the parking by bending or allowing the zoning rules to get reinterpreted at that moment. Worked there in that location because of the proximity to mass transit. That's a fascinating topic. Does no parking residential work in Miami, yes or no? And there's a lot of chatter we could have about that. But attainable condos, as you write the word condo, of course, we're talking here about for sale versus a lot of the affordable housing world is usually, the majority of it is rental. And so this starts to get into a nice, interesting debate of, got it, let's agree that we need to support individuals who need to make sure they have housing that's affordable to them, be it capitally affordable or workforce. But do they need to be able to buy it? is the
The
interesting
American
way.
dream.
The American dream, starting to build your wealth, and that's the only way to do it. So I have a perspective on this. But the American dream is that's the only way. If you skip that step, you're never making it big in the world, aka owning a piece of real estate. I would argue there's many other ways to build wealth without ever owning a piece of real estate. It's one of the asset classes that can help you build wealth, and I get it. When it's your primary residence, it's a double win. You're investing and at the same time covering your housing costs. So I get it. It's not a crazy cockamamie idea. But attainable condos, multifamily buildings are actually a little bit quite more complex to finance and to figure out than rental housing. Simplest reason being, you are now, it's a lower cost unit. You're looking for subsidies usually to have to get this project out of the ground. Most of the subsidies actually aren't geared for the world of affordable ownership. They're geared for these rental buildings. So the few sources that do exist that are there for affordable ownership, home ownership, be it single family home or multifamily condo unit, they're there. But now you've got the challenge of, great, you got the building built, but now are you going to have a successful HOA condo association with a stable budget? Are individuals going to be able to get approved for their mortgage? Because now they have to. Now we got to figure out if Freddie Mac, and Fannie Mae have approved this building, yes or no. So quite a few more variables kick in on the business analysis of, is this a good idea, than if it's a for sale affordable single family home. The HOA condo association element being that big variable, and so these are way more complex. Most politicians hate hearing me say what I'm saying. They want to know, how can this come to be? They want to know that, because you can't fit in single family homes everywhere. So we all agree density good, but they want to sell the American dream of owning. So they want to hear that you can do affordable home ownership in condo buildings.
So I ran the quick back of the napkin math for you. Miami-Dade 2025 AMI baseline 140% for a family of four. I came up with about $173,000. Okay.
You got it right.
So that's per City of Miami multifamily tax credit chart. So 140%, area median income $173,000. 30% of that, which is the debt to income ratio that you should be paying, $4,300 a month, minus estimated. I'd put in 900 HOA, 250 for unit insurance, and then another 400 for taxes. So that's $2,800 for available principal and interest. At a 6.5% 30-year fixed, which somebody maybe on the lower income side might not be even able to get, so it might be higher, but I put 6.5 for a 30-year fix. That supports a mortgage of $440K with 10% down. That makes a max purchase price, and sorry guys if you're not following me, but the max purchase price for that family of four is $485,000. And that is not a high number. So are developers able to build something and make any money selling this unit at $485,000? Like, do they need an additional subsidy? Do they need to be further incentivized? Or could they just do this with regular old condo math?
No, they need to be further incentivized. They need some subsidy. I mean, we can get into some solutions here if you think, what if just 10% of the units in a building were affordable for sale units? Okay, now you're cross-subsidizing. Your sales on the non-affordable units are helping subsidize those 10% of units.
Well, Live Local allows you to do that now, right?
Yeah, we get into good questions here. Live Local strong, not Live Local PhD. I don't know if Live Local touches affordable for sale.
Well, no. Well, with Live Local now, it used to be, and guys, yell at me if I'm wrong, but it used to be it had to be a fully residential rental building, and now they're allowing for mixed use. So as long as you commit 40% of that building for multifamily residential, 40%, 80 to 120% AMI, the other 60%, you can do whatever the hell you want with it.
Sure.
Now, you're only getting the tax abatement on that 40%,
Correct.
but without some sort of incentive, maybe by a municipality or by the county, developers can kind of do whatever the hell they want. There's a developer in Wynwood that I think has a project doing this. Baz, silly name, I don't know them, but they're doing like a 500 and something unit project, super tall, like 30 something floors. The Wynwood, what's the urban planning group over there in Wynwood? What are they called, Benji? You know better than I.
Their design review board.
Their design review board is all up in arms about it, but they said, hey, we're bringing a gun to the negotiating table. It's live local, baby.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you put, and I love the topic. You structured this as affordable condos. I'm an interesting person to discuss affordable ownership overall, and I'm not against it. I just know how complicated owning your primary home can be, and it's not insurmountable complicated, but it's maintenance costs. And so I attacked the thought of even single family homes. It's not just can we get you qualified and get you in on the purchase. It's Are you going to have consistent income across the life of a mortgage? Because now you can't just move when you need lower rent. Now you got to sell this thing. Did it drop in value? Oy vey. If it dropped in value, we got a problem.
That never happens. Never, ever, 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 ever.
Single family home, you're responsible on the hook fully for maintaining it. Sure, let it fall apart if you want. Eventually, it's going to bite you in the tuchus with your insurance. Condo, you're now at the
they're going to lien your place if you don't pay the HOA, right?
Yeah, so there's just all these different variables. And politicians, they know everything I'm saying, but they know if they don't talk about giving their constituents the opportunity to affordably own something, then they're maybe losing votes. So they're not going to take the risk and say, Benji, we agree with you. We won't talk about affordable ownership anymore. Truly not against it, but I really think more and more innovation is needed. Some version of, for a condo building, those are so complex, we all know it. Condo associations down here in the state of Florida, after Surfside, under a magnifying lens. And so I want to see innovation coming. If we're talking about affordable home ownership and even condos, we need to have a locked-in home warranty program locked into your ownership. I mean, the way your insurance is required, I want there to also be a warranty program required. Well, okay, now I just
but I mean, now you're opening a whole other can of worms of warranty. Who's insuring that? Half of our homeowner our property insurance companies go bankrupt every time a Cat 5 goes through the state.
Yeah.
And then everybody falls onto Citizens?
Yeah, no, this one's hard to figure out. Where I think there is still a little bit of a sweet spot is the idea of mixed use or mixed income buildings and cross-subsidize. Get some of the units in the building to be affordable and allow the healthier rent coming from the other uses to make this project feasible. So that's one lane. That's a realistic lane.
Peter, what you've been a little quiet over there. What do you think about all this?
I'm taking it all in, and listen, I'm a realist. I gave up the car because it was cheaper to take the Metro Rail and take Uber than it was to own a car. I don't understand why people own cars. I don't understand why people own single-family houses.
So I can pick you up and take you to Versailles.
But I don't understand why people own single-family houses. It's one thing if you want it. I don't think, though, just because you have a single-family house and you have yours and nobody else ought to be able to have a granny quarters or a mother-in-law quarters or whatever they're calling in the back. And I know the state of Florida is moving forward on that. It's the zoning. The zoning, stupid. It's like plastics from the movie The Graduate. It's like the economy, stupid, from one of the presidential elections. It's the zoning. Change the zoning. Allow people to put multiple places on their properties. And I know everybody wants a white picket fence, or maybe in Miami they want a fountain and they want a U driveway in the front of their place, or Lazaro or something like that. But the thing is, we don't all need single-family houses. Typically, the way you used to see it in big cities, in Miami is sort of changing, I think. You would have the urban density near the CBD, near the high rises, and then you had to go way out to the sticks to have a single family house. And that was the trade-off. You wanted to live horizontal, you went the way the hell out. And if you wanted to live near everything, you were vertical. Here, we kind of think we deserve a hybrid. You need to have a single family house and you need to have close proximity. Those days, I think, unfortunately, are gone. Carlos Rosso, a developer who's putting up this project, so he says, in Midtown, is going to have pickleballs.
He's building
pickleball courts, pickleballs, and all this type of stuff. But Carlos said something real interesting I thought about 15 years ago. And what he said is Miami's going through, and I didn't believe it at the time, but maybe I'll believe it now. Miami's going through like a Los Angeles effect. Los Angeles hit a tipping point. Remember, you had the Brooklyn Dodgers move out there. You had baseball teams move out there. California was coming on the scene and hit a critical mass where suddenly it was cruising altitude. Miami, unfortunately, might be getting in and around that time. So everybody living in a single family home, enjoy it while you can. And you want to deal with the housing problem? I got a really simple solution. You know what it is? You lift the homestead. Make everybody pay property tax based on the real value of the home, and everybody who's grandfathered in because their parents bought it 40 years ago and are able to live cheap. No, make it market oriented. You make it market oriented, now all of a sudden you're going to get a flushing out. Some people can't afford to leave because it is so cheap. Make it market oriented. Make it surge pricing. We do that with Uber. We do that with other things.
Or
Why
we
can't
just
do that with single
abolish
family?
we keep the homestead. Nobody
Get rid of the
pays it
homestead.
except for the school stuff, and then we double all the snowbirds. How would that do for the market?
Let the market. We say we're capitalistic. We don't want to be communista. We don't want the socialism. Why the hell are you locking in the property tax with the homestead? Lift that damn thing. Let it float with the market. On a good market, you pay a little bit more. A bad market, you're saving money. It doesn't make any sense to me how we come out, we plant the flag about capitalism and all this stuff, and then, well, listen, but don't raise my taxes, no, because I was smart enough to buy a long time ago, therefore I ought to get a savings. No, 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 no. You're either all in or you're all out. I don't think you can be half pregnant, and I think that's what we're trying to be on this.
Buy, sell, hold. Affordable condos are the answer to affordable housing. Do I even have to
Hey,
ask?
well, listen, the answer is R word, the famous R word. You get a good R word, you stress test this real estate market, and I don't think any of us are talking about affordability.
I'm not
Just
even
like
going
when
to
we went
say it.
through 08, 09, nobody's talking about
Rhymes
affordability.
with
Everybody's talking about how cheap it
smeshin.
was.
Oh,
I'm just
that's
saying the
R
R
word.
word.
Okay.
Rhymes,
I didn't
yeah,
know what it
Ron
was.
DeSantis. That's the R
Investment.
word. All right, so I I'm a hold. I don't know if it's the answer. I think it's another tool in the toolbox. If it, I'll say this much: if developers want to take some money off the board by selling the condo rather than just staying as a landlord for 100% of the building, and that's going to incentivize them to build multifamily affordable housing, yes, I'm in for it. If
Yeah,
that's
but
the
Daniel,
incentive.
but Daniel, it's the old parable, the scorpion and the frog. We've all heard it.
I'm a
You got the
scorpion,
scorpion and the
right?
frog, and they're trying to get to the other side. And the scorpion says, "Take me across. I promise it won't sting you." Frog says, "You sure?" Yeah. Halfway through, the scorpion stings them. Frogs and scorpions do what they do. Developers do what they do. If you change the rules on them, they'll simply adjust. That's all it is. Why make it easy for them? Let them go out there and earn the cash. Don't just like spoon feed it to them.
But they're
And I
not
love
going to.
developers.
Benji's not going to build it unless he's got his financing stack.
He's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. They can always figure it out. We got AI. Listen, if you can't figure it out, run it through AI, Claude or Chat GPT. Somebody will
Claude, how
figure it
do I
out.
solve housing in Miami-Dade County? How many tokens do you have, dude? All right,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
the
a
way
buy.
I'm selling it if it's worded that exact way. Attainable condos, and I'm
All
not
right,
crazy
I'm a,
idea.
I'm, I'm a hold. I'm a flip-flopper. Everybody else gets to be. I can be too. Pete, you're selling?
Which is the part that challenges the developers? Which would that be a buy or a sell?
No, this is
I
a
want
super
them to.
sell.
Well,
Super
I want
sell.
them to excel. I want them to have to really think about making things happen. I don't want it simple. So whichever one that'd be, a buy or a sell.
That's a sell. I'm holding. I'm
Pound the
eating
table.
popcorn.
Pound the table. Sell then.
All right. The affordability outlook in South Florida is looking better than ever. I mean, we were talking about Live Local. They got 43,000 units going up. That's throughout the state, but 43% of those are down here in Dade County. So toss up 15,000 units happening in Live Local. We got Benji doing great things in Homestead. There's some other affordable housing developers in the county. What's the next 5 years look like for this? Is it trending up? I'm not saying it's solved, Benji, but are things getting better for people? Like if I'm a 28-year-old dude, am I fucked?
No.
I think so.
Oh.
On
In terms
that
of housing,
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. I
Oh
thought
no.
version in my head. I mean, I think Live Local, seeing the real impact of it is going to happen in the next 5 years. So that's something
Okay.
we're all going to need to watch and see. I mean, I think we've seen it explode in a good way. I mean, we've seen Live Local explode. I'm going to go overly simplistic here in a way we didn't see Opportunity Zone explode. So in terms of government and its involvement in kind of sparking certain types of development, op zones, I'm not saying they're worthless, but they didn't create an explosion. Live Local has created an explosion. Obviously, it's hyper local. It's state of Florida. We are a development state. So we had the captive audience who was like, got it. Thank you for that new law. So I think it may solve the affordability complex uh, crises, but I just don't know until we start seeing it. And we're going to start to see projects enjoy property tax abatement, but then does property tax get turned off anyways by the state of Florida? I don't know what's going on. So I don't see us. I know we're not doing a market analysis conversation right now. I am happy to hear your reply, Peter, but I don't see us cooling off just yet, Miami-Dade wise. I think you guys have probably said this. I think one thing that'll cool us off, obviously in 20, 30, 40 years, sea level rise, that's a huge thing that I still think is just happening only to a few of us. So something I
Then the
really think could,
Mercedes-Benz project, Benji. If with sea level rise, Mercedes-Benz will be a Class A waterfront property.
sure, yeah, it will, yep. But something that I think will really potentially create something we can't predict easily, a big hurricane, any of these upcoming summers. We have been hurricane less for close to 10 years. And when all of our new friends who are down here experience a big one, that may be a certain cool down. And then that maybe helps with affordability. Not hoping for this, but I just know it's going to come eventually. So
Yeah,
live
all
local.
these self-insured bazillionaires with their $40 million houses, and they don't want to pay the $200,000 a year policy. I mean, they're built to building code. I'm sure they'll be fine,
Yeah,
but there will be some damage.
there will be damage, and they'll maybe not come back for one or two snowbird winters. And then that may or may not, oh man, I'm wishing bad stuff on us here. That may or may not kill their appetite on this whole South Florida thing. After being away for 2 years, they'll maybe be like, yeah, it was all right.
Well, they're
I
not
love my
going back to
hometown.
Dubai.
Well, I don't know where they're gonna go. This is all fascinating. What's going on in this city? I mean, we are living through a unique moment in our city's history. I mean, we've always been on fire as a city, but never to this magnitude. And this magnitude is messing with affordability. And chicken and egg. I'm not here to be the economist. What's causing the affordability crisis? But I do think, in large part, it is either real demand or at least supposed real demand, and everybody.
Yes.
So that's trickling down to lack of affordability on the rental scene for individuals. So we need more. I mean, my biggest, if I had to mic drop one thing, bring on more subsidy. We are not providing as much subsidy. Live local is ish a type of subsidy of sorts, an interjection from the public sector to help. But we need even more help, and then we'll get more and more built.
Well,
Affordable housing.
I mean, as look, we love to talk smack here because that's what we do. But
Never.
Live Local's demand for 40% is actually leaps and bounds higher than their municipal than its municipal counterparts. I think Transit Station Neighborhood Development, which is Miami's ordinance for 1 mile within fixed rail. I mean, their threshold required to get that extra density, they only have to build like 5 or 10% workforce housing, which is it's nothing. So you're going to build a 100 unit building, and you're telling me only 5 or 10 of them have to be workforce? I mean, why bother at that point?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Why bother with live local?
No, why bother with TSND? Why bother as a city of Miami to enact that ordinance if for no
Okay,
other reason to try to capture like right because if a developer goes live local, they're getting a tax abatement. Peter talks about it all the time on this show. All of the government's revenues from the municipality, or a large share of it, City of Miami, I think it's like 24%, 25%, comes from property tax revenue. Well, if you go live local and you got 100% tax abatement or 65, 85% tax abatement, that's not going to the city. So the city wants to, hey, throw me a bone by getting me this high density ordinance to be
right.
able to capture those tax dollars. But at 5 or 10%, if you're a social impact guy, I look at that and I say, guys, you gotta bump that up a little bit. Like maybe not 40%, but say 25.
Now, live local may not be able to be used on some of the parcels that City of Miami's policy then is applicable on, because live local in City of Miami cannot be used on anything below T4, I believe. And so that does eliminate some development sites from being applicable to be compatible with Live Local. So that may be some of what City Miami was trying to solve for there. Was talking about the T3 sites, and I think if it's T4 adjacent to T3, it may also be not eligible for Live Local. Not expert hat here, just I think I got some of this right.
I think he's an expert. Peter, he seems like an expert.
Seemed like it.
He's definitely an expert, Benji.
He's sold me. He's sold me. I clearly don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Benji, you're saying it all. And I want to ask you one last thing before we have to jump. So
Sure.
Wait, time out. You can't jump.
No, I'm not jumping.
I'm the other side of the trade.
No.
I got the other side of the trade.
Oh, you got all right. Peter, go. I wasn't going to end the show. I was going to jump to the next thing.
All right, but please continue.
No. I insist.
Well, first of all, yes, we are coming up on the 10-year anniversary of that last hurricane. We're also, more importantly, we're coming up on the 100-year anniversary. The great Miami Hurricane 1926, that great Florida land boom of the 1920s. It went tits up, as they say in Tampa. Some would argue it ultimately led to the Black Friday sell-off, and then some real intelligent decisions made in the White House back then led us to what would become the Great Depression and ultimately Hoovervilles, urban planners. We all know about that. But that's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is if you take a look at a typical real estate cycle, let's go 7 to 10 years. We've been on this run since 2012. We should have started cleaning up in 2018. President Donald Trump at the time in his administration, number one, he got up the ass of somebody called Jerome Powell, who was the Federal Reserve Chairman. And Powell bent the knee and cut the rates and provided a lifeline. We then segued into the pandemic. Prices fell. Then Governor DeSantis says, you don't need to wear a mask if you're in a blue state. Come on down. People came. They worked from home. Miami Beach allowed you to get out of a cop car and twerk. Now, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan says, get your ass back to Wall Street. Same thing with Silicon Valley. We're working on AI. All our tech bros, crypto bros, they all bailed on us for the most part. They're back to where they have to be. Now they're all upside down on their real estate. And what I'm telling you is the cycle 7 to 10 years. We've been on a run since 2012. We had not cleaned up yet. And anybody knows, especially if you've seen the movie Hangover, you go on a bender at some point, you're going to the Betty Ford clean out center. That's what we need to do. We are going to get cleaned up. We're going to get cleaned up in a big way. But one other point I will throw out to you, well, 2 points. One point is Airbnb. We're all playing the Airbnb game. That's one thing when the rent's coming in and you're able to make a ton. Once everybody starts to peel off, I don't know, maybe you're coming from abroad. Maybe you're part of the fewer foreign passengers that came through Miami International Airport. Now your Airbnb numbers, they're not working necessarily the same. You're getting hit by insurance. You're getting hit by everything else, property taxes. You're not homesteaded in, so you might think to dump. And when you go to dump, what's going to happen? You're flooding yourself onto a market that is in a downward situation. And my final word, the B word. What is that B word? Okay, boomer. All these boomers are going to have to dump their properties. Once the kids take it over, that homestead, you know what it does? It reverts back to capitalism. And now suddenly you got some real property taxes. That's why I think if you're 27, 28 years old, hold on, sit tight, turn off that only fan, and get ready to buy some housing because it's coming.
I like it.
Wow. I mean, Peter goes on some rants. And Peter, I got to put on my sad face, man. You were talking about anniversaries and 100-year and 10-year. And Benji, I don't know if you know, maybe I'm really sentimental, but it's coming up on Peter and I's 1-year anniversary, and he hasn't gotten me anything. Benji, Miami ranks #1 least affordable metro in America per debt-to-income ratios and money spent on income on rent and housing. And per UBS, #1 global real estate bubble risk. And, you know, there's a bunch of little variables.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. We're #1, number 2 years in a row. So, very pointed question. You're advising Mayor Levine Cava, that's our mayor of Miami-Dade County. What would be the single most impactful move for affordable housing that she can do in the next 24 months? Not a whole wish list, just one thing. If you could say, hey, you're listening to me, I got your ear, do this thing if you want to make a difference.
That's a big one. I would say, I want to say provide more sources, more funding sources. That's a big one. But I'm a realist. I know it won't get through the budget. But
that's okay. You don't. This is not a realistic question because I'm sorry I can't get you her ear. but you're shouting out from the rooftops, and maybe listen. Peter talked Ken Billions into breaking ground on his site, so somebody's watching.
Sure.
Hey, listen, Mayor Cava, I'll tell you what you can do. You take what you just did, taking it to Florida City with this busway. You finally take that Metrorail like you wanted, take it all the way up the Broward County line. That would do wonders, I would argue, for our housing as well as infill type of development. I mean, there's a place used to be called Carroll City. Now it's Miami Gardens, and it is something is going on there. So we prove we can do this. We need the public transportation. I'm not saying you want the likes of me going out there, but I was recently at Hialeah Racetrack. And I will tell you, all in and around there, you got a lot of stuff going on. What's one of the reasons? Because people want to take the Metrorail. You can connect the Tri-Rail. You're not necessarily going to
go see the Inter Miami game.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, we got the foundation. Mayor Cava, it doesn't matter if you're, you're a lefty, you're a righty, you're hugging trees, or you're doing anything else. She's going on the right path. Public transportation. If she could ultimately get it to Miami Beach, even though Miami Beach isn't going to allow it, I think what you do is you bring the city together. It'll make us more of a community, and it'll open up all kind of development opportunities. But I'm with you, Daniel. You got to jack up the percentage of workforce or affordable or whatever the hell the right term is around Metrorail stations. If you're going to give them county land, make them feel.
Look, Swerdlow's building a train station. He's not building a park. He's making his developer contribution like a $35 million train station. I am so on board with that, pun intended. All right, Benji, affordable outlook in South Florida is looking better than ever.
I'm going to buy that. And the biggest reason why is we are awake, not trying to use the word woke here. We are awake, and we are having dialogue about this in a way that we haven't before. We are actually decently partnered with our state level government, with Live Local. So we're moving in the right direction, not necessarily solving all the problems immediately, but we're moving in the right direction and accepting that we need more affordable. Yeah, where I think more and more affordable housing is coming, subsidized and government supported. And I don't disagree that that's where you're sitting on my screen. There will be a market correction, so that's going to even be more helpful, I think.
Peter,
you got to phrase the question for me so I know what
the affordability outlook in South Florida is looking better than ever.
Better than ever, and I don't blow smoke up the ass of developers, but I'm going to blow smoke up the ass of David Martin, old man Martin from Terra. David, you did something wonderful.
No, he's not old yet. He's still young man Martin.
He's getting a little bit of gray hair.
He's older than me.
Old man Martin, listen, you finally did something well. And what you did is you took a crappy mall located on 7th and Douglas. You repositioned it, and you took all that wasted space on the north side, and you built a bunch of housing that's relatively affordable. I don't think there's a parking garage there. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. That's our future. Let's start using some of this wasted dirt on these ugly strip malls. Start filling in some residential. Maybe go to some of these churches if they want to participate. Go. There's plenty of dirt, everybody. There's plenty of dirt around. You don't need to kick the spoonbill out, Rosie and Spoonbill. We can have the panther. We can have the alligators. We can have the tree huggers, and yet we can still provide enough housing. It's just we got to get creative on the zoning. And David Martin, for the first time, I will blow smoke up your ass and said you did the right thing with your project. You also did it at Coconut Grove Metrorail Station. So that's two good ones on the board. So congrats to you. And I think that's our future, everybody. If we can take advantage of what we got smart people. We got smart people, and we got AI.
And you got AI. Holy cow, look at that. Bye. Benji, I gotta thank you, because Peter and I think when partners get together, and I don't mean like that, get your mind out of the gutter, Peter. When we get together, we have a tendency, to become homogenous, and we got a very colorful board on that rundown today. We agreed, we disagreed, we hold. Peter, we got to get more guests like Benji on the show. This was fantastic. Benji Power, Proceeded Development Group. Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for teaching us. Thanks for teaching our viewers, our listeners. This was a blast. Did you have fun?
I had an awesome time.
Peter?
I did, but Benji, I'm going to hit you up because I need to get all these acronyms down. I don't understand what the hell they are. Why don't they come up with something simpler? Like Homeland Security. Remember, they did the green, the yellow, the blue. Come up with something like that, everybody. Affordable, attainable.
All right,
or
folks.
Keep
that is episode number 48 of Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. Thank you for coming. If you're not watching us live and you're watching us on your socials, we're live every single Friday, 4 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. Have a good weekend. Be safe, folks.